Well, welcome. As you can see, I've got the first part of my Christmas decoration.
Yay! Yay!
The rest to follow.
Good on you, Mike.
So there we are. I've
Good
made
on
an
you,
effort
darling.
this year. So here we go. We're getting there with it all. I think this year more than ever, I'm going to make an effort. So there we are. What can I say?
Tashi made an effort. She made me a Christmas tree out of a piece of paper, and it's about this big, and it's on the table with the presents around it. She said, "Mum, I did a Christmas tree." I said, "Good, we're not doing one this year."
Yeah.
Oh,
So
God,
it's crept
all
up
fun
on us,
what
isn't
we
it?
go
It's
through.
almost there. I think we got one more show before Christmas. I'm not even sure. I think
Yeah, I know. So what is your availability over, Mike? Are we still doing them every week over Christmas?
I'm happy to do that. I've got no plans. I'm still a naughty boy. I officially can't go anywhere.
I'm in the same boat. I can't go anywhere either, so we might as well just keep running through with it, darling. Yeah. Good
No,
on you.
I look forward to it, and I enjoy doing this. The more we do it, the more I love doing this. The more we reach more people. And I get a better understanding of what the hell's going on because, this is a mammoth subject, and I don't think the human consciousness can fully get their head around it.
No. Well, I like referring back to the movies, okay? The first one that gave me the inkling, that intrigue as to what happens was actually Indiana Jones, the last one with Cate Blanchett. Right at the end where I'm in the crystal skull one, okay? She was in the room with all the crystal skulls and she's holding up one of the skulls and she says, "I want to know everything." And her body disappears. It melts because, I saw that back in the 80s before my own near-death experience, obviously, or the 90s, whenever it was. Sorry if I'm wrong, but I always thought, is her consciousness bigger than her body? And then I saw the movie Lucy. And that movie, if you haven't seen it, guys, it is a bit gory, but the progression of Lucy as she goes up in the percentage to full brain capacity of her consciousness, I understand all that. I've had days where I can look out a window and the trees have got this like matrix pattern coming up out of them. I've done that. And then when she sees like the lines going from everybody, I see that too. So when she becomes, at the end, I don't want to give a spoiler alert in case anyone's seen Lucy, hasn't seen Lucy, but at the end, what happens to her? I can fully understand it because our consciousness becomes all. So therefore, our body cannot sustain that environment. So it has to dissolve into all, And it's the same with this woman, the amount of times, probably 1,000 times over the years, I've asked her, "What is your name?" And the first thing she says is "we." So it's not I, it's "we." And then she says, "We are all," because it's a collective. It's source of all the energy, And funny thing, I was watching this thing the other day about how the whole world now, the whole earth is in this negative vibration because of the anger and the hate and the frustrations and the impatience that so many people now are generating, because generating is power, which is energy. And because everybody's now in this negative rut of their consciousness, it's actually creating the whole planet to be in this frequency. So, trees are affected. Our food is affected. Our vehicles, our clothes, our ornaments in our houses, as well as our houses, even the roads. If you look at how much deterioration is happening on this planet, not just the physical human side of it. I noticed it today, how many holes are in roads. Trees are looking like they're dying. because they're all picking up on this negative energy that's being emitted by our thoughts. And, that's the big thing here that I, just want to relay out to anyone watching this. Keep your vibration up, guys, because the more we fight back and retaliate against these negative trolls or anyone else attacking or abusing us, because we all get our own share of them. But, you can't go down to their level. You can't stoop to that level. If someone is nasty to you, start smiling and think of your favorite music or your favorite clothes or your favorite vehicle, anything like your Peter Pan happy thoughts. Because as soon as you start thinking of that thought, it creates that positive energy that those other negative entities can't attach to, and it's right now is when we need to start spreading the love out there to people, because I've just noticed it just, in the last 2 weeks, how many plant life and other things are looking like they're dying because everything is picking up on this energy. It's not nice. I don't like it.
Well, here's something people can try at home to do with consciousness, and get 2 plants, put them 50 centimetres apart, no more,
yes.
Give them the same amount of sunlight and water, and with one of them, just for a minute every day, tell them how much you love them and how beautiful they are, and thank them for the energy and the beauty that they give. And on the other one, just say the most horriblest things to. You make me sick, right. Wither and die. And you just watch the difference in growth, because I use this in my Power of Words talk.
That's exactly right.
So our thoughts, even if our thoughts are wrong, our thoughts are inaccurate, even if our thoughts are just fantasy, if we continue those fantasy thoughts, they will become reality.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's why I use That's why I use Captain America's shield. It doesn't exist. Vibranium doesn't exist. It's in the Marvel movie. Yeah. But because I've seen it, I create this wall of vibranium. So when other energies come into me, it repels back to them tenfold.
Yeah.
So if you've watched Captain America, have a look at his shield, because it's not real. Vibranium does not exist. So I create that around me as my little invisibility cloak or my protective shell,
right.
And it repels off all the negative energies around me, because I just won't tolerate. And believe me, there's a lot of people in my life at this point trying to penetrate my positivity with all their opinions and their crude, nasty, outright narcissistic opinions, and I don't need to tolerate it. So why should anybody else? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we are all sovereign. We are all worthy, and we are mostly all loved. And we've got to just keep remembering and saying that to ourselves. I am love.
Yeah.
I am loved. I really do love. And then when you finish that sentence with, I love my water, because now you're putting that energy into your water and
absolutely.
You drink it.
Yeah.
I love my red nail polish. So when I wear it, it's now going in through my nails. I love my pen, because even as I write the words, those words now reflect that emotion. So guys, just think of that as you go onto your daily lives, and really just think about how much work am I putting into being a positive person, because we all need it at this point.
Before we just get onto the news section, we was doing again our regular table tipping thing, and I obviously won't mention names for obvious reasons,
privacy.
But this particular lady was was told that she could no longer take part in this theatre production because she wasn't vaccinated. And so she came to the table, and it was very interesting, because Joan, who's on the other side operating the table, got so enthusiastic with this woman because her spirits were still high, and she's actually taking legal action, and she said not for vengeance, but for the higher good, the greater good.
That's right. That's
And
exactly
this old
right, Mike.
table was going round, and then gave her healing. And what it
Yes.
does, it just vibrates backwards, and she felt it. She felt the whole thing. The important thing
Yeah.
that I'm saying here is that she was projecting what she wanted, and the table said, she asked her, should I be concentrating on the material world more than my spiritual world? And the answer came through: only focus on the material where you can reap benefits. Don't chase, or what's the saying? Throw pearls at swines. Chase only where you can reap a dividend, and let the rest go. And then your spiritual aspect will take place in accordance with that. So it's a very interesting session.
Yeah. And to add value to that, or to add more to it, Mike, because we've got to get into our new segment. But guys, one thing I said to Mike off air before we started, what is occurring all over the world right now is that people are lowering their morals, their values, and most of all, their personal integrity. Be that person who stands true to what you believe in. And then you shine.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to even say a word to people.
Right.
Because people will feel it emitting out of us.
Yeah.
Because we are staying true to our values, our morals, and most of all, our personal integrity.
Mm.
You know, I think the world needs another pep talk, Mike, so I might do a pep talk in the next couple of days on YouTube.
Yeah.
Share it around, you know, telling people just, you know, when we agree with what other people say, that's actually lowering our standards, which is our morals, values, and integrity. And then we are not being true to who we truly are on the inside, you know?
Well, before we just go over, I done some channeling the other day. It turned out to be 9 pages, and I was told to release it on the 21st. Surprise, surprise, the 21st. But, and it's no surprise to find that 2 and 1 equals 3. Blah, blah, blah. So you'll be I'll release this on the 21st, and a lot of what you said is kind of woven into that channeled message.
Yeah, so, that's right.
Anyway.
Well, you know, I know a lot of psychics. I'm sure that you do too, Mike. And it's funny how we're all getting very similar messages at this point. You know, we're all getting similar messages. Like, I'm still getting told to push the truth. Push the truth, Linda. So I am sharing a lot of stuff on my normal Facebook page about the lies, the deceit, and all the stories, you know, but it's coming to an end. You know, probably in another week or 2, I won't be doing it anymore because it's past the point, you know, and we go back to Noah, where he got that message from God, build the ark, and he tried to persuade everybody on the planet to change their ways and to start thinking along his messages. They all criticized, they all judged him, they accused him, which is all negative, negative, negative. And then at the end of the day, Noah had to get on that ark by himself. So there was a poignant moment in his story where he had to say, I'm not giving up on these people, but I am allowing them to have their free will to decide what they wish to do.
Yeah.
And then he just turned his back on them and walked away.
I mean, I think
because
the thing is, I put up a meme the other day, and the trick is to care about people without worrying about what they think.
That's exactly right.
You know.
Yes.
So.
Wow.
Alrighty. Should we go and hear what Katerina has to say?
Yeah, Katerina.
Okay, here we go.
Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Caterina Campagna, and I'm here today, as always, with the news segment, The Open Door. You know, the stories that make you go, ah, ah, or what the, I can't believe, why is nobody talking about this? Our first story is about a famous, talented, well-loved, and respected actress known as Miss Octavia Spencer. Now, she has had roles in such great films as The Help and The Shape of Water, but she also plays another role, that of host to a ghost in her house. That's right, she bought a house in 2013, and it is said to be haunted by a famous cowboy western film star. Now, she says that he's kind of helpful, although he knows how to play with the lights and doors in her home. He's helpful by allowing her to be free from guests that he deems unworthy in her home. She says that he scares them away and makes sure they never come back. Now, she's also had another encounter on a film set. Ironically, the film set was called Encounter. She told Ellen DeGeneres that while they were doing a scene, there were all these lights that appeared and they just became smaller and smaller. It seemed like they were engaged by some kind of UFO. And a partridge in a pear tree. Now, it turns out that's not the only famous pear tree in the world. There is one that is a little bit more famous, actually, because the Virgin Mary has said to have been seen appearing over it. That's right. In a small town of 150 inhabitants, 70 miles away from Milan, a woman named Rosa has claimed from the 1960s that the Virgin Mary appears to her, giving her messages such as, "We need to pray the rosary more, and our Father in heaven loves all his children, and he wants us to take care of the earth." Now, Rosa looked up at the apparition and said, "But who will believe a poor peasant woman like me?" And the Virgin Mary said, "Do not worry, I will give signs of my place in this world, of my speaking to you in this garden." And sure enough, 2,000 people gathered and took pictures of one day where the Virgin Mary appeared over this pear tree, and the sun began throwing different colored rays and spinning around in the sky, and suddenly there was an eclipse, and suddenly the sun just appeared as if a ring without a center, just glowing in the middle of the sky. Now, a Dr. Pierre Weber took pictures that day, and he said that he found no evidence of them being doctored. Now, there's also many miracles said to occur in this garden by the pear tree. People in attendance saw that their vision came back, the deaf were able to hear, and the paralyzed were able to move. What if a murder victim sought revenge on the person that brought him to his grave? That's exactly what's said to have happened in the Eastern State Penitentiary when Al Capone was captured and brought there. They say that the specter of James Clark would haunt him in his cell. People would hear Capone screaming, "Leave me alone, get out of here," during the night, and see him quivering like a little boy in the corner. Now, the state penitentiary, which opened its doors in 1829, has been said to be one of the most haunted places in America and a prime stop for ghost hunters. And when it was renovated in the 1990s, a man named Gary Johnson claims that he was dragged to a portion of the prison, not by his own will, but by force. He was grabbed. And in that cell block, he heard demonic voices and saw demonic faces on the wall. Another movie that wowed people in 1976 was The Omen. Now, it was a chilling tale of a child being born that was actually the Antichrist, named Damien. On this set, when Gregory Peck was supposed to take a flight to be on set, he canceled for reason unknown. And then what happens? The flight crashes, everybody dies, and even more mysteriously, what happens? The pilot's family happened to be in the car that the plane fell on top of. Go figure. That's not all. Then on another flight that Peck took to be on set, the plane was struck by lightning. Still another flight that the writer of the film took was also struck by lightning. Thankfully, no one was hurt in those two incidences. So what do you think? Can films be cursed? I don't know. Are you going to watch The Omen again and try to find out for yourself? That's all for now, my friends. Until the next time, stay curious.
Yeah, I'm doing it as well. Very interesting.
I love
isn't
that
it?
intro that she does. You know, Tashi and I have been watching Indiana Jones, and I love it when he's in the plane going somewhere, and there's that little line.
Yeah.
You know, good on you, Katarina. Oh gosh, it's so cute. Wow.
What do you expect? You're making those dark energy movies, and as we know, the darkness is much easier to manifest than the light because we're closer to the dark.
It is. Yeah.
What do you expect? I know The Exorcist, they had enormous problems. Imagine 5 weeks, I think it was, they filmed of that intense horror. The mind knows no difference between reality and acting or an outside event.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course, you're manifesting crap like that. So, fortunately,
that's right.
Gregory Peck appears to be well protected. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
You know, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just so interesting what Katarina's putting together for us, darling.
Yeah.
You know, she's doing a marvellous job. I'm so impressed with her. Yeah. You know, thank you so much if you watch this, Katarina. You're gorgeous.
Well, she'll pick it up on the replay because she'll be sound asleep in New York right now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think New York is 17 behind me. So if it's 7 p.m., that's 7 a.m. It's about 1 or 2 a.m. for her now.
Yeah, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
Yeah.
So she'll either just be going to bed or pick it up in the morning. Anyway, let's crack on.
Where are we going now?
The baby and the ghost visitation. Yes. Let's see what you think about this one, Linda. Yep. There's some strange little things going on in this video. Let's have a look.
Yes.
A Scottish mother from Drongan is convinced a ghost is visiting her young son. Cheryl Scott suspected something strange was happening in her son's bedroom. When she reviewed their baby cam footage, she was stunned at what she saw. Take a look. Watching that again, you can see that there's 2 strange shapes floating in the middle of the frame. Suddenly, the baby cam shifts to the left as though something's moved it. Eerily, Cheryl claims that the light we can see when the camera spins around wasn't on when she left her sleeping son that night. The family is living in Cheryl's grandparents' old house. They both passed away a number of years ago. Cheryl believes it could be the spirit of her grandma or grandpa coming to visit.
So you're more of an expert on this. Do those lights, can they be camera anomaly?
Could be anything, Mike. You know, and, you know, I'm going to say it. There's 3 parts of this story. There's 3 things in there. Yeah. Okay? First one is the lights above the baby. That could be a reflection. It could be anything. Okay? Could be even a bug on the screen. You don't know because it's out of focus. So it could be a bug right there where it's focusing past it. So I'm going to not talk that much about that bit.
Okay.
Because the second and the third bits of the evidence really do intrigue me. The second piece of evidence is that the camera moves.
Right. The motion detector cameras move?
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the third part of the evidence. What was it focusing on?
Yeah.
Because it was detecting some energetic movement that wasn't seen on the film.
Yeah.
So if I was looking at that as a professional, like paranormal investigator, I wouldn't even be talking about the white lights hovering over the baby.
Right.
Because that there could be anything. And that shows that you're making things out of possibilities. But the things that we cannot dispute is, one, the camera moved, and it moved and looked at something. It, because it went all the way.
Yeah.
And the camera didn't go down like it would if it was falling off its tripod.
Right.
It stayed in the same direction,
Right.
The same horizontal motion. So it was actually moved. It wasn't like falling off a tripod,
right.
if you know what I mean. So the actual camera moving is what most intrigued me in that, because unless there's someone standing behind it moving it, but how, once again, it moved straight around. So there was no down. So to me, pending if there was someone actually standing behind the camera, because there could have highly been, but taking that out of the equation, I would say that is paranormal.
Right.
Because I have seen motion detector cameras move on their own.
Right.
And then you've got to sit there and you look at, what's it looking at? It's like a cat. You know how you'll get a cat and it just sits there?
Yeah, mine
and
do
then
it.
It does.
Yeah.
And then it goes from one to the next.
Yeah.
And all its whiskers are out.
Yeah.
What are you looking at, cat? Yeah. Because I can't pick it up,
Yeah.
So that's what a motion detector type thing does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just laughing at how I would have looked when I just did that on the camera. Anyway, it's all good.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
But the camera moving, I am more intrigued about that than the lights above the baby.
Right.
Okay? The fact that she said that there was people that lived in the house that have now died, of course they'd be coming back to see what the baby looked like.
Yeah.
They'd be coming back saying, oh, my God, I'm your grandmother. They would have been excited. So, of course, it's probably them. But, again, we don't know who it could be.
Yeah.
As we're going to find out tonight, darling, it could even be a future brother or sister popping in to see what they look like as a baby.
Yeah. Well, Melinda says my cat goes to one of my portals in my house. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've got a portal in Tashi's bedroom. I'll just go there.
Yeah.
When I moved in there, it was where the little boy ghost was. He actually got murdered in Tashi's bedroom. Thanks for letting me know the history of the house before we moved in. I've done a lot of clearing in there, but, the room just won't lose what's there. Tashi sleeps in there because we do protections, etc. But the cat won't go in that bedroom.
No.
If she does, she only goes like a foot in the door and then stops and just does the thing. The cat thing.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. Before we go into the next section, when I bought my house in France, nobody told me that someone got murdered there.
Yeah.
I only found out after because I was talking to someone saying, boy, I had a psychic attack there last night and someone was trying to strangle me, blah, 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 blah. And then someone said, a woman was strangled in there many, many years ago.
Yeah, thanks for telling me that before I
bugger,
moved in.
He's coming back to try and strangle me.
Yeah.
Because I heard footsteps downstairs. Now, I know this is a whole old house and it creaks. But at one point, like an idiot, I woke up and said, who's there? Like a burglar's going to say, well, I'm just robbing your house at the moment. Or a spirit's going to say, oh, I'm coming to scare you. What a stupid thing to say. But that was a reaction. But, so there was a lot of movement. And this little... Anyway, I done my normal, you think you're going to do that. And it went away again. But it's interesting that I, too, bought a house where somebody was killed.
Yeah. Well, the boy's not here anymore. No. He was obviously afraid of me and Tashi because we're females. Right? So I reckon he died from the hands of his mum. Mm. And, it was a man that came here for a development class. He was actually a very good psychic. I wish he'd come back because he was really lovely man. So he actually went in there and had a chat to him and passed him over. And we haven't seen that little boy in the house since, and that was about 4 years ago now. But for 3 years he was very prominent here, very scared. He'd pop around the corner. So if there's a corner, he'd peek around the corner that and then pull back,
He doesn't hang upside down from the door looking at you, does he? That would be it for me. But anyway. Okay.
It's all good.
Let's get on to our next one.
Where are we going next, darling?
Well, we're going to have a look at the pub ghost. And this wonderful thing, it follows through where it's a care home, and when someone dies, they open the window in belief that they let the spirit out. It's a traditional thing. So let's have a look at these two and see what you good people think of this.
The Blue House pub in Sunderland, UK is rumoured to be haunted. Staff and patrons alike have seen and felt things that can't quite be rationally explained. And now something bizarre has actually been caught on camera which backs up the haunting claims. Watch. Looking at that again, the pint of beer that's on the bar next to the patron suddenly falls over without reason. Darla Anderson, the current landlady of the 167-year-old pub, said that the day before this footage was captured, a psychic medium was in the venue and said that a ghostly presence was lurking around the property. They could sense a strange entity near them. When the footage was shared to Facebook, the previous owner of the pub got in touch and said they had always suspected the property was haunted. They too had seen objects moving around all on their own. Oregon nurse Carol Leanne has captured something eerie on camera while working the night shift at the hospital. She shared the footage to her TikTok account, Carol Anan 1984. She says that the nurses at the hospital have a superstition that whenever someone passes away, they open a window in the room so their spirit can leave freely. During a night shift in October 2021, Carol noticed that someone hadn't left the window open, despite someone dying in the room earlier that day. Watch what the camera caught and see if you can spot anything creepy. If we watch that again in slow motion, right at the end, you can see a shadow pass in front of the camera. Despite the freaky backstory, some viewers think it's all a hoax, noting the strange grainy filter that's been applied over the footage.
What do you think there?
All right, you ready for the first one?
Yeah. I'm having a bad hair day, excuse me.
You always do, Mike, and that's why I love you, okay? Don't change a thing, okay? All right? Okay, first footage. Is the beer on the bar mat, which would make it off balance?
Right.
Even though in the bar mats, are only like this thick. Yeah. But the glass could be off balance. But what debunks that thought is the fact that the beer glass was full, which would make it heavier.
Yeah.
If it was just a thin glass, empty, with not much weight, there's a high possibility that then it could be uneven because it's sitting on the end of the bar mat and it would topple over. But it was a full glass. So then we've got to look at what the glass did. It's tipped over. It didn't go towards the guy, so it wasn't doing any harm.
No.
It didn't go backwards towards the other woman to destroy all her lovely clean bar work. It actually went forward over the side onto the floor. So my opinion of that one, that's somebody there saying drink up or give me a drink.
Yeah.
That's what I personally felt psychically when I saw it, okay? It's a ghost saying I want a beer or drink up.
Yeah.
It's going flat. You
Well,
haven't drunk for a while.
I mean, Melinda makes a good point, which is probably trying to pick up the beer and to have a drink.
Have a drink.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, Melinda. That's what I think too, personally, there myself. Okay?
Yeah.
So now you're ready for the next one.
Yeah.
It's not a shadow.
It's not.
It's actually an apparition.
Okay.
Because you can see through it to the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So there is actual form in there. Okay? So guys, have a rewind later and look at that in slow motion, because I looked at it in slow motion and it's not a shadow.
Should we have a quick
look? It is someone walking past the bed.
Okay, let's just have a quick look at that.
The Blue House pub. If we watch that again in slow motion, right at the end, you can see a shadow pass in front of the camera. Despite the pass in front of the camera.
What I do is when I see Mike's videos, when he sends them to me, I always look at them at night time. Because at night time, the pixelation of your computer screen or your iPad or your phone, it's more in focus and it's more lighter. So I always look at Mike's videos of a night when my room is dark. And then I slow them down because obviously because, you've got the bar across the bottom where you can slow it down. I always rewind, watch, and try to make out shapes or other things going on in the video that would suggest it to be false, okay? Because that's what we do when we're investigating. You don't just assume and say, oh, my God, I heard a voice, that's a ghost. You got to debunk, everything about it. And that's what a good paranormal person does. They know how to debunk. It takes years to learn how to debunk. Okay, I'm just letting you know. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, even with my 15 odd years of doing debunking, because I still give stuff over to good mates of mine who are very good debunkers and say, do you think this is something? And then they come back and they say, no, because, so it is good that they teach me. Okay. So that was not a shadow.
Okay.
It was actually an apparition walking past the camera.
And in a circumstance like that, in a care home where people are basically frequently going to pass into the light, it wouldn't come as a surprise that because that energy is there, that it becomes more frequent. So yeah.
Well, mate, you should see it when I go to hospitals.
Yeah.
I went with my sister the first time that my dad was in hospital and we're putting him into the full care facility that he's in now. And I walked in with my sister and I took about 3 steps and stopped. And she looked back at me. We're in this corridor. And she turned around and said, are you all right? And I said, oh, Anne, I can't walk forward because there's no room to walk forward.
Yeah.
The whole corridor was full of, it was like I had to do this to get through them all.
Yeah.
And Anne was just there, my sister Anne, she was like, what?
Yeah.
Because she can't, she couldn't see what I see.
Yeah.
Some of them had suitcases and bags. Some of them were holding flowers. Some of them were in nighties. Some of them were still in their day clothes.
Yeah.
But most of them, I'd say 99% of them are just sitting there waiting to be picked up.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing because they're in that perpetual state of consciousness where they're waiting to be picked up to go home.
Yeah.
So that could be somebody just getting dressed to go home.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, because, you know, they're walking past the bed. They could have been walking around the bed. You know, going over to get their suitcases out of the cupboard.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, very, very sad that they don't pass over, you know. But just remember, guys, first rule of me with ghosts, don't ever say to a ghost, go to the white light. It's not a question we can ask them, okay? Okay, don't ever just say to them, go into the white light, because if they don't know they're dead, it can be very, very traumatic, and psychological damage can occur to them. Okay, and that's when they start really giving out really bad things happening. Okay, so, you know, you've got to know how to communicate with ghosts if you're going to start doing it. You treat them with respect. Just treat them with respect. Say, hey, how are you? What do you want? My name is Linda. What do you want? You know, so be respectful with ghosts. You know, I'd love to go into that room, because I will go there. If I was going to go to that room knowing that apparition was in there, I'd be sitting on the bed and just saying, hi, first of all, hello, my name is Linda. What can I do for you? See how respectful that is?
Yeah.
Do you want to come through and talk to me? I'm a friend. I mean you no harm.
Yeah.
That is how I talked with every ghost, you know, and that's why they sit and they start talking. Because, hello, you be nice to someone, they'll be nice back.
Yeah.
So they start talking.
Usually.
Oh, darling, Shelley stayed here for 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, I loved Shelley. You know, I really, really wish that she would come back. You know, she knows where I live. You know, but she just could not fathom the fact that she was dead. You know, it was very, very traumatic for her when I finally told her it was 2017. And, you know, she died in the 70s. So,
well, I think the
poor girl.
Bruce Willis film, was it Sixth Sense, kind of summed that up.
Yeah, very, very true, darling.
Didn't know he was dead.
He didn't know. And, you know, imagine if that boy went up to him and said, hey, mate, you're dead. Can you imagine what he'd go through?
Yeah. He'd
go home and he'd be running up to his wife and saying, hey, this little kid's just told me I'm dead.
Yeah.
So we can't force it on them. They've got to come to that conclusion on their own. Like he did when he saw the wedding ring fall from his wife's hand, and then he looked down and he saw the blood on his shirt. And then he went to his office door and he realised it was locked, because that's where he's been going in. While he's been a ghost, he was going in there every day to do his work, because he just could not see that it was locked, because it was that blindness that occurs with ghosts. Yeah. You know? So I love referring back to movies, Mike. So I'm so grateful that you just said The Sixth Sense. Yeah. You know, because that was very on par. Yeah. Very, very on par with what ghosts actually go through. You know, I call it a distortion of consciousness, which is a scientific term. You know, but it's also psychological, because they black out that memory of their death. So they just think that they're still alive. You know, and I think that's what's happening here in this video of this person walking around that hospital room, just waiting to be picked up. Yeah. You know, it's sad. It's sad. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Let's get on to what I think is really a wonderful story. This is, oh no, that's Vanilla, the visitation. Let's do Willa, the reincarnation.
Oh, yes.
I mean, how would you feel if your daughter says, well, that's my other mummy? You know.
Wait, because I've got notes for this one.
Okay. We'll run this one and let's see what everyone thinks of it. Here we go.
Yeah. I took our daughter Willa to the local park, and she was standing looking at a tree. And then I could see that she was talking to the tree. When we got back from the park, she was drawing with chalk in the driveway, and she said, I'm going to draw you my other mother. And I said, your other mother? She said, yes, my other mother. She was in the park. I thought, I don't know what's happening. One day when Willa was about 4 or 5 years old, we were driving to school. She's sitting in the back seat in her child's seat, and I'm blabbing to her about her sandwiches and her lunchbox. She's looking out the window, and all of a sudden, she turns to look at me. And I can see her in the rearview mirror, and she just looks different. She's still the same child, but her face looks older. And she says, completely out of the blue, "Mother, you must regain the gifts you've been given." She doesn't normally call me mother. At the time, Willa called me mama and my husband papa. But the word mother never came out of her mouth except in these instances where she seemed to be somebody quite different. And she looks back out the window, and I said, "What does that mean? What are you talking about?" And she looks back at me and she says, "What?" As if that came from nowhere. She has no idea that this is what she has just said to me. And she didn't seem to recall that in any way. Because I didn't know what to say. I was just sort of stunned.
She would say things that was just totally out of character with Willa.
"You must regain the gifts you've been given."
I don't know that I was ever worried, anything can happen with a kid.
First, I was concerned about the whole shift. I can't call it physical. I mean, it's the same face, but something in the whole personality and the way that she was speaking, mother, and the seriousness of this. I did believe that Willa was sending me a message.
And who would have thought her father was one of the guys from ZZ Top? But there you are.
Oh my God. So, there you go.
Just my bit of humour there getting thrown in. What do you think, Linda, here with this?
Well, I just love the way, I've got to go back to my daughter because, she's a pretty special kid. Since she was about 2 when she started talking, she'd stand in the corridor and she'd say, "Mother." She still does it today. "Mother." And then, when she really wants my attention, she says, "Linda." So this is a child who has always used my first name, because she's an old soul, my girl. She's got a lot of wisdom in her lack of years, So this girl in this video, I can totally relate to this poor little girl. But the one who I feel sorry for is the mum, because she's the one that's got to try and teach this girl what it is that she's got, and when we don't know what she's got, Yeah. So it's really good that she's promoted this, so then other people could come in and say, "Hey, I know exactly what your daughter's doing. Here's some guidelines on how to teach her how to do this." But you've got to remember the message. You must regain the messages that you've been given.
Yeah.
That is how she talks to me. It's like old school language.
Yeah.
So she doesn't just say, "Hey, you got to relearn what you lost." That sort of stuff. She says, you must regain the gifts that you have been given. So it's old school. So, whatever is in this little girl, whether it's a reincarnation or it's her spirit guide or an angel talking through her, because it could possibly be that as well, she needs to learn how to understand what this girl is going through, I went up to my shopping centre one day and it was so weird. I thought I was having a stroke, Mike. As I was walking past people in the shopping centres, I was actually hearing their thoughts. Not in my voice, it was their voice. So as a guy was walking past, I could hear him say, "Oh, I've got to take Johnny to soccer training at 2:00. And then the next lady was an old lady. "Oh, yes, I've got to get Fluffy her feisty food for dinner," the cat. But when I was hearing it, I also had that knowing, like a flashback of a memory, where I could see what it was that they were going to be doing. It was so weird. So then I went around and I had to stop at a little shop. And as I ordered what I needed, the girl behind the checkout, her whole face changed. It was like an overlay of another face over a face.
Yeah.
So I could see the face. And there was a message there, and I know it was her. But I wasn't prepared for it, obviously. And I said, oh, what did you say? But then I came back out of it, and it was the girl shop assistant, and she said, oh, I just said, have a nice day. You know, like, what's your problem type thing, you know? And as I was walking away, because I could still hear everybody's thoughts, I thought, my God, what the hell am I going through? You know, and how do I control this? Because that's one thing that, you know, whenever we get a new gift, we've got to learn how to control it. So I've sort of done that now, because that was a few years ago, you know, and there you go, guys. So that's another thing that I can do. You know, hear people's thoughts, you know, and people have asked me over the years, can we learn how to do it? If I knew how I learnt how to do it, I'd be the first one out there saying, hey, come to me and I'll teach you for free. But it was just a natural thing I did that day. It just happened. So, you know, don't know. I even calculated what did I eat the day before. Was it the food? Was it? Did I have enough water for a change, or was it because I had enough sleep, or was it because I exercised, or was it because I had raised my vibration the next day? So I was debunking it all, and there was nothing unusual. Nothing unusual. It just happened. So, you know, we've just got to be patient with our gifts, Mike. You know, that's the thing. We've just got to be patient.
Something people can do is to read the energy from texts, so you can see if what they're saying is actually in alignment really with what they're thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
This takes very, very little practice, actually. Once you start to become conscious of it, you can see it's very much the same as we mentioned it before, you know, that Tash comes home from school. You say, how was school? She goes, oh, great, Mum, I really enjoyed it. But you will know in your heart if she's not being honest with you.
Yeah, or she's being sarcastic.
With a big smile, because, you know, she might not want to talk about it, get upset. But you will know instinctively, because you can feel the energy and read the energy.
Yes.
And that energy gets transferred into text, and you can read the text.
Okay, so let's go there, guys. If you do want to learn this, okay, what you can do first thing in the morning, okay, I like doing this one the first thing of a morning. You ring a friend who you haven't spoken to for a few days, and when they answer the phone, you say to them, please don't say a word. I just want to feel what sort of mood you're in this morning.
Yeah.
Because some people do wake up grumpy. Yeah. Some people wake up angry. Some people feel, you know, they're loved up when they wake up first thing in the morning. Some people are hungry. Some people are lack of sleep still, you know. So there's a lot of emotional states that we can have first thing in the morning. So that's why it works so well. So you just ring a friend and you say, okay, please don't say a word. I just want to feel. So you close your eyes and you just feel through the line of the phone. You feel like it's a cord to that person, and you just think, right, what is it that they're feeling? So that's another good way to develop this, you know? Yeah. So then you can pick up on the energies of other people without seeing them, because you don't want to see them. Because if they're smiling, our brain says, oh, yeah, they're happy. Because that's our ego, and you've got to take the ego out of it. You know, our brain saying something as opposed to our intuition saying something. You know, that's the two differences. But that was great. You know, what a great little girl. You know, I'd love to see what happens with her in the future, you know,
that'd be
what abilities that she has, because it could be a past life.
Yeah.
It could be a spirit guide talking, and it could be an angel talking through her, a channel.
Yeah.
You know, she could be a channeler.
Yeah.
So interesting, you know, and it's good that her mum promoted, so then somebody may reach out to her and say, hey, I know what your kid's doing. I can teach them how to do that, you know? Yeah.
Well, before we move on, Melinda says, like my son come to me when he was 4 and asked, who am I and what am I about? Very profound at 4 years of age.
That's right.
And, and Joanne says, my son mentioned his mum Michelle once when he was young, who is definitely not me. Yeah.
That's right.
I wonder, how did you feel about that, Joanne? Was you a bit put back, or was you okay?
Well, I can tell you, Dale, I'm a mother. I would have been put a little bit back too.
Yeah.
You know? But then at the end of the day, you've just got to sit there and work out, you know, these kids aren't corrupted yet by society. They're just remembering what they were before they came into this existence, you know? So, I've done that with Tashi because Tashi came out with some really weird stuff when she started talking. And I'd sit there, using psychology on her, and I'd sit there and, she'd just come out and say, one of the things Tashi did come out with was, Granddad had 6 chickens. So instead of freaking out and thinking, how did you know that? Because he did have 6, her dad's dad did have 6 chickens before he passed away. And so I sat on the bed and I said, oh, really, darling, what's their names? So she came out with these 6 names, which I remembered because, I went and got a pen and paper and wrote them all down. So when I spoke to her dad, I said, oh, by the way, did your dad have chickens? And he said, yeah, he had 6. And I said, what were their names? And he called out all 6 names that she had said. But the thing with that, he died when I was 2 months pregnant with Tashi. They never met.
Right. Yeah.
So he was coming to see her a lot. There was a lot of conversations. I'd sit outside the doorway and I could hear her talk, and then she'd pause. And then she'd talk. So she was listening to him talking, but I couldn't hear him talking because it was between them, So I'd just walk in after she stopped and goes back to whatever she was doing. I'd say, oh, darling, who were you talking to? Granddad. Oh, and how's Granddad today? Yeah. What did he tell you today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you encourage it and see if it's true.
Yeah.
That's the best thing.
Yeah.
See if it's true, like the chicken story.
Yeah.
So I rang Tashi's dad and said, hey, by the way, did he have chickens? And he said, yeah, we used to have 6 chickens.
Yeah.
So there you go. You want your confirmations.
Yeah.
So then you can say, right, is this just the imagination of my child or is it their intuition?
Yeah.
The difference, between imagination and intuition.
Well, it generally happens to prepubescent children.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
Because that connection is still there. And I'm going to leave it here, which is why our dear friends from Chrome like prepubescent children. But we'll leave it at that. I think you all know what I mean.
Adreno, before that word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I know what you were talking about, darling. Hello. I'm switched on, I think. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Mr. Andrew.
I like acting
Andrew,
dumb
Mr. Andrew Crone.
But
anyway,
yeah.
Let's have a look at Renelle Wallace. What a story.
Yeah.
An NDE, a visitation, and a message that's so pertinent to today about courage. And when you see this, if this lady can overcome this, we can overcome everything. And she did overcome it. So let's have a little look to see.
Before we go there, Mike, just to let people know, I'm going to put this on my top 10 best videos that we've ever seen.
Super.
This is in there. This is in the best top 10 videos that we've ever seen.
Okay.
Let's have a look. Hope you get excited, guys. Yeah.
There was just a gut-wrenching cold chill that just went through every core of my body. And I started screaming, you know that dream I had last night, Terry? I just have a feeling about this.
What would you do if you had a dream that told you you were in danger and a strange little voice told you you could avoid it if you listened? For Terry and Renelle Wallace, it should have been an easy flight from one small airport in Utah to another. But Renelle's vision from the night before began coming true in every detail.
The visibility started shrinking. The snow started coming down and forcing me lower and lower and lower.
By the time Terry realized that they were in trouble, there wasn't a safe way out. And then through the clouds, they spotted a mountain.
He started pulling up on the steering column and we started a real steep ascent. And as we did, I just started screaming, this is just like Colossus on the roller coaster.
And all of a sudden I heard this clunk, clunk, clunk as the propeller hit a tree, and then it started skidding into the ground, and then I knew I was going to get smashed.
Parts of the plane started to fly up along the side, and the sparks started to fly up underneath the cockpit. We came to a dead halt, and there was not a scratch or bruise on either one of us. And I was shocked.
Renelle kicked open the door. An explosion blew out the roof of the cockpit and her with it.
I remember seeing parts of my coat and flames falling off and dripping down onto my pants and onto the ground. I remember seeing my hands on fire.
Terry escaped with minor injuries, but Renelle's wounds were killing her, with burns over 75% of her body. Her face was burned beyond recognition. As EMTs rushed to a hospital, she moved closer and closer to death.
And I said, somebody please, I can't breathe. And the male nurse bent down to my ear and he said, stop trying. We'll do all the work for you. And at that moment, I remember everything got very black. And then it became clearer and clearer. And as I looked around, I realized I was standing up in the ambulance.
Technically, Renelle died that day.
Most people do not know that they're dead. Their consciousness is fully conscious of what's going on, and yet there they are, the shell of who they thought they were, lying there being pronounced dead.
Renelle was having a near-death experience.
And then in the distance, I saw a woman coming toward me dressed in white. And she moved very quickly and stood in front of me. And when she stopped, she smiled, and she called me out by name. And my first thought was, do you know me? And she answered back, Renelle, it's Grandma.
Renelle recognized the woman as her late grandmother at about age 25, and she had a message. She told her to conquer fear and return to life in the physical world.
And that I would need to build the strength to stay strong, to overcome the ordeals ahead of me. And that I needed to come to learn and appreciate the great love and power within me.
Then her grandmother showed Renelle her physical body.
And I was in there by myself, and the room was very dark and it was very cold. My first thought was, that's not me, because it was so ugly.
Renelle looked at her tortured body and told her grandmother there was no way she could return.
And she said, look. And in the path, I saw a young man coming. And he says, Mom, what are you doing here?
Renelle saw that this was her son, a son yet unborn. His name was Nathaniel.
And I went and put my arms around him. And I said, Nathaniel. He says, Mom, you have to go back. He says, I need you, Mom. He says, there's so much I have to do, and I can't do it without you.
Finally, Renelle decided to return. She regained consciousness in a Salt Lake City burn center and was released 6 weeks later. But her biggest task was to come. Renelle arrived home physically intact, but far from being healed. She wore a tight mask to keep scar tissue from spreading on her face. Fire was her worst nightmare.
It literally terrorized me. Every time I turned the stove on, I would jump a mile high.
Less than 2 months after returning home from the hospital, Renelle and Terry were up before dawn to go to another surgical appointment.
And I saw these flames coming out of the neighbor's house.
The flames were coming from inside her neighbor's house. Renelle knows the family inside is asleep. Her biggest fear is now facing her. Fire.
And that's when I heard a voice. And that voice was so clear. I went over and I looked at the window and I saw the flame from the roof and it said, get over there, they're asleep.
Her grandmother's message about conquering her fears flashed through her mind. As Terry called 911, Renelle ran to help.
And I started pounding on the window and pounding on the door, and there was no answer. I ran back to the garage and the door was flipping up and down from the electrical switch, and I tried to move between the two cars to get in, and that's when the garage door shut behind me. And I was trapped inside the garage. And it was filling up real rapidly with black, thick smoke. And I was choking. That I started screaming, if anyone's in there, please get out, your house is on fire. And finally I heard this loud screeching sound of a woman's voice screaming at the top of her lungs. I said, if you're okay, get out, your house is on fire.
Renelle managed to kick open the garage door and meet the woman in front. There were 2 children asleep inside, and they ran in to save them.
I said, stay underneath the smoke, stay underneath the smoke. She was gone in a second, and she came back. And I started screaming, thank you, thank you. This is why are you thanking me? And I said, you'll never understand. You'll never understand.
Renelle's courage won national attention and presidential recognition.
And here I was faced with something that I thought would paralyze the rest of my life, but it was the greatest blessing of my life because it has helped me to conquer the greatest fears that I have.
Renelle's greatest blessing was still to come. Although doctors told her it would not be possible, 8 years after the plane crash, Renelle gave birth to a son. She believes it is the boy she met in her near-death experience.
Most likely the boy she met in her near-death experience. What do you think?
Yeah.
Great story.
Oops, sorry.
Fabulous story.
Just turn my light back on. Sorry. Just so everybody knows, it's actually quite hot here in Brisbane tonight. And I've got this big light. If I do that, you can see the reflection. While we're playing the videos, I'm turning it off and I'm cool and I'm fanning myself because it is actually quite hot in this room tonight. Okay. So there you go, guys. Now you know what I'm doing when we're off air. Okay. All right. So first thing I want to say here is in heaven, there is no time, okay? There's no time up there. And this is a basic fundamental that many will never be able to grasp because what happens is there is no past and there is no future. So when I was up there, I was seeing people in medieval clothes who were instantly transforming themselves into clothes from another 500 years in our future because there's no time and space. So I didn't go to heaven in 2001. I was there in the present because there's no past or present, no future. So everything up there is now. So when, we just spoke about this before when I said we're going to mention this, there's no past or future. So it is possible for a future child to come in and say, hey, Mum, go back because you've got to have me. Okay? So to me that makes perfect sense because I understand that distortion of our consciousness that happens up there. Now, I don't know how many other people pointed it out, but if she hadn't come back, if she'd stayed dead when she had her near-death experience, look at the synchronicity where she was the one who had to get up early because she had the Burns appointment. Yeah. She would not have been up that early if she was just getting without that injury. So she had to get that injury to make her have that appointment on that exact same day at that exact time to be up where she was looking out the window to see the flames. We look at instances in our lives, guys, and we say, why the hell did that happen? That was so traumatic and horrible. But then 3 years later, because of that event, something else will occur, like what happened in this story. So if there's a message that I want to give out of this whole story, yes, we have near-death experiences. Yes, we go to heaven. But please remember, there is no time. And up there, they know the future because it's already the past, because it doesn't exist. So there's always that knowing of everything and all. So she had to get up early that day. She had to be there looking out her window to see the flames. And she had to have that courage, as you said, Mike, to go over there and face that demon so then she herself could heal, not just her physical wounds, but also her heart, heal from the trauma of her own accident. So then she could use that for a betterment for others. What an amazing story. That synchronicity that put her there in that exact time to help the neighbor, that is why this video goes on my top 10 list of best videos that we've ever seen. Wow. So there you go.
That'd be kind of up there with my one as well. And what this teaches me is if this lady can overcome this, which must be terrifying for her, then
obviously
we can overcome our ordeals. And it's like they say, if you have been in a plane crash and you survive it, best thing you can do, get straight back in an aircraft again.
You know I survived a plane crash, don't you, Mike?
No, I didn't know that. No. Yeah.
She actually told me, buckle up. Oh, my God. It's in my book. Yeah, it's in my book, 5 Years in Heaven, where I'm talking about who she is, because she was there with me when I was in heaven. Yeah. So I do a chapter on who she is and instances. Yeah. Do you want me to just quickly tell?
Yeah. Very quickly.
Yeah, quickly tell. I was doing a flight from Brisbane to Japan, and then I was having an overnighter in Japan, and then the next morning flying over to America. We were 3 hours outside of Tokyo. The captain came over and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to hit turbulent weather." But just prior to him, she told me to buckle up. So I thought, well, I'm going to go to the toilet. So I went to the toilet and I heard again, "Buckle up." Got back to my seat, put on my seatbelt just as he came over and said, we're going into some turbulent weather. We actually hit a Category 3 typhoon. We were going up 1,000 feet, dropping 1,200 feet. Then we're going up 800 feet, dropping 6, going up 2,400 feet. People were throwing up left, right, and centre. Lightning hit the wing blew up. Fire, right outside my window. It was in a very, very weird situation. We ended up landing on the wing because we were flying like this. So the whole plane was like this as we're going up and down. And we ended up spiraling on the tarmac. We should have gone up in a big fireball, by the way, because when wings touch first, the plane rolls and goes into a fireball. But we actually went into a spiral, and we ended 2 kilometres away in the Avis car park. So we had to use the slide to get off the plane because there was a big hole in the plane from the wing. So I've survived a plane crash, guys. That was back in the 90s, coming into Narita in Japan.
The nearest I had was a touch and go. We was coming into land at Vienna, and it hit the runway, and then boom, next minute, we went up again, and the noise the engines made was really quite horrific. Apparently there was a plane at the very end of the runway, and protocol says if that's there, then the plane we were on's got to take up and fly around again. I mean, there was no doubt that our plane would have stopped well in advance of that plane at the end of the runway, but the pilot did what protocol said, and up we went. But the roar was quite...
the roar.
Shit, what the hell now?
Yeah.
So,
I used to live out at the Amberley Air Base because my dad was Air Force, and we used to have the F-111s going off all the time doing their practice. So they'd take off, do a circle and then land, and then go down and take off, do a circle and land. Those were huge engines in the F-111s. They had the afterburners. They don't use that plane anymore. But, oh, my God, they have, I think it's 50 kilometres you can hear that roar coming out of the engine when they hit the afterburners, So, I love planes. I got on the plane next day. I flew to America. I was all right, sort of. It wasn't a very good night, but anyway, we got through it.
All right. Well,
we didn't die that night, did we?
As we're running out of time.
Yeah, keep going, darling.
Should we see about Bill's NDE?
Let's go and have a look at Bill.
I won't say anything about it except this. Here's a gentle man. Literally a very gentle man having a very gentle NDE. So here we go. Let's have a look.
Cute. Let's bring it on.
I went into a coma probably within a couple hours of being transported to the hospital in Idaho, and then was subsequently flown by air ambulance down to the University of Utah. I really don't remember anything past Idaho. The prognosis was not good. They weren't sure that I was going to survive my injuries. My brother came down on the air ambulance with me. My mother at that time was living in California, and my younger brother was in Puerto Rico in the military. And so my brother was kind of really didn't know what to do. And so he called my cousin and his brother-in-law to come up to the hospital to give me a blessing. During the course of the blessing, I was in a coma, and I could feel their hands on me. I could hear what was being said, but at the same time, people were gathering around me and placing their hands on me. Some of these people I knew, they were deceased loved ones, like grandparents, aunts, uncles. Some I didn't know, but yet they were still familiar to me. I could feel their hands being placed on my body at the same time. But the thing that was really confusing, I was seeing this from an elevated position. At first, I really didn't know what was going on. Then I recognized that the body that I was seeing below me was actually mine. And I just had a tremendous sense of that everything was going to be okay at that moment, that, you know, these people had gathered there to be with me. The thing that separates out a near-death experience is that it remains crystal clear. It's something that doesn't change with time. A hallucination, they told me, is very disjointed. A dream is something that will fade very quickly. It's hard to recall all the elements of the dream. Where with the near-death experience, I mean, it remains as clear to me today as it did almost 30 years ago. Conversations were going on at that time with my family about removing me from life support.
Yeah.
And so I believe it was really more towards the end period in this coma that the second event happened. In this event, I found myself in just an incredibly beautiful meadow, just flowers and foliage that were just colors beyond belief. And I was on a pathway walking down. There was a stone archway that I could see down at the bottom of this pathway, where there was this light that was emanating from it that was drawing me to it. And the thing that I found interesting was that everything was interconnected, that the plants, the flowers were communicating with me and I was communicating back. We were all at the same plane. I mean, nothing was at a higher level, nothing was at a lower level. Everything just seemed to be communicating and connected.
Yeah.
And so as I went down this pathway, I entered through this stone archway, and it was just a beautiful garden in there. And as I entered into there, my dad was ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad had actually passed away 6 years before I had my accident.
Yeah.
He looked wonderful to me. He looked, you know, just at the prime of his life. He looked very happy. He came up, he embraced me, and I had communicated to him, I said I was really lost and confused. I mean, I knew that I either had died or I was in the process of dying.
Yeah.
And when I told him that I was really confused, it was really more about, you know, what was going to happen with me, because I didn't want to deal with what I knew was ahead of me.
Yeah.
And my dad embraced me, and he just said, you know, you're not going to be lost or confused any longer, but you need to go back. It's not your time. When it is, I'll be here for you. I'm very fortunate in the sense that I'm one of the few people that actually had other people present that could validate my experience. My cousin, I was able to share with him what was taking place during the blessing. The thing is that I believe that the near-death experience truly made me a much better person.
Yeah, yeah.
And that the gifts that I had really outweigh the losses. I have a very close connection with my children. The people that are in my life are important to me, and I communicate that to them. But when I had this experience, it's something that became really very firmly cemented within me.
Bill, a gentleman having a gentle NDE experience there. What do you think, Linda?
You know, well, we said it a few weeks ago, I think it was last week, Mike. You know, how many NDEs where we get to the heaven part, you know, because a lot of people float and then they go back into their body, right? But the ones who do go to heaven, we all land in a field of flowers. It's like there's a big X on the ground. Incoming, you know? It'd be interesting. You know, I was actually, because when I saw this the other day, I rang a friend of mine who sort of understands what I do. Because no, I don't even understand what I do. And I said to her, wouldn't it be good if we could prove the science of that vortex, that stargate from our own conscious three-dimensional world to that landing strip where we all land in this field of flowers? Because it's like it must be like a tunnel or a vortex or a chamber of some sort that propels us to that one spot. But then we've got to remember that's not the part that we all go back to come back to our body. You know, we can be anywhere in heaven or our life review or the reincarnation room or wherever we are. And we think about home and we come back like Dorothy out of Wizard of Oz. So, but it is funny how we all land in that one field with the flowers, you know. So, you know, then he said he got the validation of what he saw by talking to his cousins, etc. Thank God I've got that too, because, you know, I saw all the paramedics, because I was floating for 45 minutes in the room, I saw all the paramedics' names. And when I was telling my ex about, you know, I saw that guy, this is what he looked like, his name was this, he said, how did you know? Because he didn't even come into the bedroom, you know. So it's good that we get that confirmation that our experience was real. You know, it wasn't just a drug hallucination or inducement or a imaginary event, as some people would like to call near-death experiences. So for him to clarify that is really amazing. But the big thing that I really want to talk about, because it was actually Anna Knapp who, hello Anna, I know you're going to watch this in the morning when you get up. She said it to me the other day, and it just amplified what I already know. You know, I had my near-death experience 2001, and the memories of being in heaven are as crystal clear as if it was yesterday's event. I still can just close my eyes and I'm in that field of flowers. I can close my eyes and I can see every detail of the sewing on the clothes of the people that I was around. And, you know, you got to remember I was up there for like 5 years, but I still remember everything when I close my eyes and just think about it, because I'm traveled back to it. And, you know, I actually have to say that there's no time. So it's not that 20 years difference. Like with this guy, he said it's as crystal clear today as it happened 30 years ago. There is no 30 years, because when we tweak our brain to take us back into that consciousness of where we were, there is no time. So it is right now in our memory. So, you know, what he said, I absolutely love it, Mike. You know, he was an absolute dear. He's an absolute gem. You know, thank goodness that he's out there as well spreading the word, you know. I love him.
I mean, it's interesting, because there we say this is a very gentle soul, and he had a very gentle experience. And some of the, I'll use the word more aggressive NDE experiences we've shown, very ego-based, left brain type of people when they was on the earth plane, they experience more hellish experiences in their NDE.
Because, okay, the whole, you know, someone said to me the other day, it was in a near-death experience group I'm in, they said, how do I avoid having the hell trip? And I said, easy, heal every memory that you've ever had, every experience, heal it now. Because once you correct that energy, then you don't go into those regrets or those grudges that we've instilled in ourselves through our societal corruption of our consciousness. So, you know, it's easy to say the words, obviously, but, you know, but then you've got to self-analyze everything that you are as a person. You know, why am I, you know, instead of just saying to yourself, oh, I'm aware that I gossip, you've got to work out why you do it in the first place. And, that could be a 3-year trip of going down memory lane. I'm just trying to be nice here. Going down that memory lane of everything in your life where other people have been sarcastic or gossiped to you. So you've brought on those traits into your own life, because the more loving and giving we are and generous, kind, etc., we do go to heaven. Those who live in grudges, I'll just go there. Someone rang me the other day because I did a video the other week, and they said, oh, my God, Linda, there's so many people now that are attacking people on social media. And I said, yes, if that's who they truly are, they're going to have a hell experience. And it is extremely hard to get out of that because you don't heal because you don't have that life review to heal it. Yeah. You only get the life review if you have the heaven experience, So, I try to teach people now how not to have the hell experience. So get rid of your grudges, and that's why, like on my YouTube channel, Dr. Linda Kramer, I talk about how selfish works, how regrets work, because we have to identify that we've got the behavior, and then you've got to correct doing it and analyze why we did it, because that's what we do in our life review, because we've all got to self-analyze ourselves and make ourselves better people, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
Before we move on to this last section, the two videos that come to mind is Diamond Jim is one of them, who had the hellish experience, but
yes,
totally different person now. And I can't think of the other guy's name. It was Howard, I think, or Storm, something like this. Military man, real boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But so just you can scroll through and you'll find them not too far away. But anyway, last section.
Yeah.
Mama Medium. I had a little chuckle with this, the circumstances that she's giving a reading in. But
well, can I show you, Mike, before we do this, guys? We're about to see Mama Medium. She's on a counter of like a kitchen, and she's got a group of people at the end. When I first opened that video the other day, I saw another person in there. So I drew it, okay? Here's my drawing. The man in the reading is here.
Right.
And I saw a man standing behind him, a little bit taller, with a beard. And he's got his hand on the guy's shoulder.
Right.
So let's just have a look at what this Mama Medium says, because I saw it before she said it.
Okay, let's have a look. Here we go.
Would you like to speak to the man behind you?
There's probably a man behind me. No, there's not. Seriously?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You hesitated. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I don't use my gift so that I can hurt or alarm someone. I just want to give you guidance so that you're on the best path.
Right.
He's standing on your right shoulder, so that tells me there must have been healing. Was it his lungs on the right side?
Lung cancer.
On the right side?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to know that he's validating there's no more pain.
Right.
He has come to terms with how he passed.
Right.
And it's all been released.
Okay.
He needs you to know that. So that tells me, it's so strong, that tells me that he probably was not okay with how he passed here, but he has come to terms on the other side. Was it your father?
Yeah, my father.
I figured. Okay.
Mike.
Whatever the struggle was for him, it was real. And when he got to the other side, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like he fought a little bit by saying, I don't want to be here yet. Yeah. But you've had that conversation with him?
I was young.
So I need you to know that he's saying, I'm angry that I'm here, but I've come to terms. And I just got chills. And he's so thankful that you're empathetic because you can feel him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's saying, I'm right there next to you, like literally, if that makes sense.
No, I feel him all the time.
You've never spoke to him through a medium?
Never. I mean, I feel him all the time, so it's nice to know that he is in fact there.
He may physically be gone, but he's not spiritually or emotionally, and he's right with you.
No, and I knew that.
So cool. I love it.
Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
The pain on his right side, that says a lot, and she knew that. And that the pain was gone. And the fact that he struggled with the idea that this is how he was going to die. There's no way she could have known any of that information. There's no way.
You don't have any questions about it?
No, I don't.
You just want me to shut up? That would not be the first time my husband tells me.
No. I'm just gonna take it in,
and
I'm just gonna take it in, absorb it. He's been gone 18 years. I feel him every day, at some point, and every day. It was comforting. I can go walk away from tonight, knowing that things were meant to be said. I could almost look at you, and I could almost.
We can't do this because you're gonna make me
No,
cry.
I know. I could feel you. I could feel him through you. It was weird. I was just standing here almost just waiting. Just talk to me. That's all I kept saying in my head. Just talk to me.
You could feel it?
I could feel it. But just talk to me. Just talk to me. It's been 18 years. He's gone now. Just talk to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I gotta laugh. All those bottles of hooch lined up there and everyone drinking wine. It's not how I would do a reading or encourage a reading, but it seemed to work for them.
Neither would I.
You know.
When I watched that the other day, because I saw that guy standing there. Now I'm just going to show the picture again, guys. Okay. He had his hand. So here's the dead father standing behind the guy who was having the reading, and he had his hand on the guy's shoulder. Now I didn't pick it up the other day because I was drawing that picture. But there is a point where that man actually puts his hand right where his dad's holding his hand. Right. He actually put his hand there. And I thought, my God, because I just saw it then.
Nice, yeah.
And I thought, my God, I didn't even see that last time because I was drawing the picture, because I only watched that once because I was just listening to it. I don't have to debunk it like a ghost video. But, what an amazing story, absolutely amazing story. Yeah, that beard, the beard. Yep. Wow.
Well.
So what do you want to say about it, Mike?
I'd have to look more about Mama Medium. She seems to be the real deal. If I thought she was fake, I wouldn't put her on anyway.
That's true.
It's just a strange approach. I find so. I just want to know the circumstance and why they're all sitting around drinking bottles of wine while you're giving a reading. It's only a me thing. I just grew up with my spiritual training in this strict spiritualist church atmosphere to the point that if circle started at 6 o'clock and you weren't there, that door was locked. You weren't coming in. So I grew up in that, but I'm amused by it. It's like they're all knocking it back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kimberly says, follow her. She's amazing. So she says, I follow
Kimberly.
her. She's amazing.
Yes.
So I'll have a little bit more of a look at that. But people work in different ways. Just because that circumstance is set up for her doesn't mean that it doesn't work very well. Clearly it does. I just have a little chuckle with it. Not just one bottle of wine. There's rows and rows of it.
It's almost like she's saying, okay, we're going to do a reading. Some it is about to hit the fan. Yeah. So I'll get the bottles lined up so then they can all have the drink after what I say, Here's your preparation for what's about to come out. Yeah. You don't know what the intention is for that alcohol. Or, they may have been at a bar or something, I don't know, Mike. But, I thoroughly agree with you. Yeah. I like going outside, having a smoke with my coffee when I've got people here because it keeps me calm. Yeah. It helps me to relax so I connect with her more. We've all got our vices in life, obviously, but at the end of the day, I used to drink alcohol, and one thing I have noticed since I haven't touched alcohol now in about 4 years, so now I'm more in tune. It does affect our consciousness, it does affect our awareness, it does affect our capacity of spiritual gifts, Yeah, so it is interesting that
I mean, I did. I consciously stopped drinking alcohol for a while to see if it would improve my mediumship, and I have to say it did.
Yes, that's right.
I occasionally have a glass of wine. I'm not a regular drinker, but I found that obviously the cleaner your body is in terms of not putting toxicity in there, which wine is, the better you've got this opportunity for communication.
Yeah. And isn't it funny that they give wine in communion?
Yeah.
Funny that one.
Yeah, no, you know, Nikki.
When we do communion, that's when we're communicating with God, right?
Yeah.
So is it like they're trying to dumb us down? Oh.
Well, Nikki says...
Topic for another video.
I wonder why they call liquor spirits. And I think the Arabic translation of alcohol there's some... You'd have to look that up, guys. But yeah, it's no coincidence that these names are given the names that they're given. Maybe the alcohol there's to loosen them all up, get them all relaxed. That could work also. But you know, each to their own.
I did a radio interview a few years ago, and I was talking to the host. It was actually going live on air, and one of the hosts on this radio show said, how many ghosts have you got in your house now? And I said, yes, I've got 3 spirits in my house now. And he turned around and said, what, Johnny, Jim, and Johnny? Johnny, Jim,
Johnny
and Jack.
Walker, Jim Beam.
Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. And I just had to sit there because I wasn't on that train of thought, because I wasn't on that lower vibration. So I actually had to work out what they were saying, But it was, so I actually say, I should just call the 3 in my house. But one's a little girl. I don't want to call her Jack. I've got a dog here. Yeah, you could call him Johnny. Yeah. And then I've got Terry here. And I think Terry likes being called Terry. Right. He died of emphysema, and he's very proud that he died of emphysema because he was a trawlerman. He was a fisherman. So you can imagine the stuff and the language that comes out of his mouth when he starts laughing. Yeah. He's a crack up when he comes in. I know he's here because I can smell his drum cigarettes. Right. And he told me he used to just chain smoke every day, and he was so proud that he died of emphysema back in the 70s.
He worked very hard for that.
Yeah. Well, when you're out on the trawler doing this all day in the currents and the waves, whoa, what am I going to do? Well, let's go and have another puff. Yeah. You got to calm down some way,
Linda.
Oh, my God. How do they sleep? That's all I say. Anyway,
it's
that time. It's that time of the day.
Yeah. So we're going to knock it on the head. So we're going to knock it on the head.
I know, darling. Well, guys, we say it every week. If you've had a weird experience, NDE, a nice little ghost story or something, please do your little video and send it to us so we can put you on the show. If you even just want to write a story, Mike or I can read it out live on air. Here's a story that happened to this person, just so we get local content that's real life stories from the real people.
Oh, I'll even get Katerina to read it out since she's a professional.
Well, could do that, It's all good, darling, But at the end of the day, don't just sit back and just watch our show. Think about if you actually want to be a part of the show and get involved with us, guys. Yeah. Because the more, you look at the word invest, we straight away think of money. Yeah. But how much time do we invest? How much energy do we invest into what we're passionate about? Obviously, you're watching us tonight, so it's drawn on your little heartstrings around the trap somewhere. Whether it's some big passion that you've got or whether it's just something that intrigues you and you're thinking, well, what the hell are these people talking about? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you've had a story. Let us know about it, guys. Yeah. We'd love to put you on the show and talk about what you've been through. Yeah. Because we only do generate love light here. Yeah. We only want the best for everybody. Yeah. And if you've even got a concern, hey, I had this thing happen to me 20 years ago. I'm a little bit shy to talk about it. Write it down and send it to us so we can actually try and debunk what you went through so you learn. Yeah. Because that's basically what we're here for. We're teaching you guys how to be far better people, more enlightened, spiritual, and most of all, more loving human beings.
Get in touch with this, yeah.
Get in touch with this. Yeah.
Super.
You wonder why red's my favourite colour. Hello.
So
it's Valentine's and Christmas Day.
Before we go, when's the book coming out, Linda?
Well, I got my update from Lulu today, and I'm going to get it delivered to me, hopefully by Christmas.
Super.
So as soon as it's arrived, I will be showing it on the show and showing you how to get it on Lulu. It is actually on my website now, cheaper because it's a PDF. Right. So if you go over to my website, lindaray.info, LYNDARAE.info. Why did my mum put the Y in there and spell my Ray, R-A-E? Go over to my website. It's on my web store. It's only $20 for the PDF. It's 369 pages. What an awesome number. Thank you, Mike, for letting me know that one. And, so because when it's on Lulu, it's obviously going to be more expensive because of shipping and postage and obviously printing it, because it has got pictures in there of my life review. There's about 8 pictures in there, plus my medical records, to prove that it actually did happen to me. So when I get it, I'll certainly talk about it on the show, Mike. But thank you for asking about it. Okay?
Super.
So, guys, here I am in Brisbane. I'm actually sweating at 8:30. It's 8:45 p.m. here. I am sweating. I need to go outside and sit in the cool for a little while. Mm-hmm. Mike, you've got a big day as usual coming up.
Coming up to midday, 11:45. So I've got things to do, and I've got a dreaded German lesson coming up. So we'll get that one under our belt as well. And we just crack on. We just keep cracking on.
That's exactly right, guys. So keep cracking on for this coming week, guys. Yeah. Please know that you're not alone. Wherever you are on the planet, all you got to do is close your eyes and just imagine all these people around you, because we really are all around each other. Yeah. Think about the energy that's being emitted from everybody that you love, okay? Or your animals, or even your favorite trees on the planet. Exactly. So what we think we can create. And the last one is, what more we know, the more we grow. I like that one.
Yeah.
So guys, from Brisbane, Australia, I'll talk to you all again next week.
From Austria, Vienna, see you all next week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.